chapter number 2 in Science 1. It's a chapter from chemistry and it's called Periodic Classification of Elements. We will understand today what periodic means, what classification means, and what elements mean. As we do when we start any new chapter, today we will look at what all we need to know before we enter this chapter. We will also see what is there in this chapter and we will start the chapter. Very little. We'll just make the beginning. Mainly, we will very clearly, for the last time, we may not get again some time to look at what we have missed studying earlier, which is related to this. We will focus on that and we will complete that. That is what we should have studied, what we have studied. And remember, this is the most important chapter in entire Science 1, combining physics and chemistry. So please pay attention. Let us begin with what we have or what we should have studied. There are a lot of questions today for you to answer, and I will add the answers to my slides. I will update the slides as and when we get the answers. The first slide of questions is coming to your screen now. Let us try to remember what matter is. And we can talk about matter, we can define matter, we can explain matter in just 2 sentences. Something starting with an M and something starting with an S. If you know the answer, if you want to speak, you can speak. If you know the answer, you want to type, you can type. Khadija, your answers are correct. I'm waiting for more people. Prachi, correct. Sandhya, wrong. Karina, correct. Karthik, wrong. You can type the answer to everyone. Huh? Anushka replied. Welcome, Anushka. You are participating in science. Arti, no, wrong answer. Small is wrong answer. Chan, molecules is wrong answer. Anushka, your answer is correct. Karthik, yes. Finally, you got an answer correct. Remember, matter is something that has mass. Matter is something that has mass. It can be a stone, it can be water, it can be iron, it can be plastic, it can be paper, it can be our bodies also. Anything that has mass. And remember, mass is measured by the unit of kilograms. This is the SI unit. And matter is something that occupies. Occupies means घेरता है, लेता है क्या? Space, not sound, space. We can also say that matter is something that has mass and it has volume. This is what we can say. Another set of questions coming to your screen. What are the states of the matter? When I taught you last year, I told you that generally people talk about 3 states, but now almost everyone talks about 4 states of matter. What are those? Very good. Keep your answers coming in the chat box, or if you want to speak, you can speak. So as all of you are rightly saying, states of matter. Matter can exist as solids. It can exist as liquids. It can exist in the state of gas. Also, matter can exist in the form of plasma. If you remember last year, because you were hearing this for the first time and I was teaching you for the first time, I had simplified, I had very simplified, and I told you plasma example is fire. But I did a little cheating with you. I should not have said that. I think now you are in a position to understand what plasma is. Plasma, we can say it is the ion state. If you remember, last year we studied atoms lose electrons or gain electrons to form positive or negative ions respectively. So that state of matter in which atoms are not in the normal state, but they are in the form of ions, that state of matter is called plasma. Now, to quickly visualize what the states of matter are, in solids, the particles are packed very close together. So they have definite shape and size. They have definite shape and size. Liquids, the same particles are a little bit loosely bound to each other. They are a little bit more free to use. So they don't have a definite shape. They take the shape of the container. I remember one of you told when you were studying the chapter in English. Right? Water takes the shape of the container. The liquids don't have a shape. They take the shape of the container. When the space between the particles is even more, then that state is called gaseous state. They don't even have any shape. Example, the photo you see is the clouds. Finally, on the right hand side, you have the state of plasma where atoms are not there as atoms. They have lost some electrons, or some of them would have gained some electrons, and they will be there in the form of ions, and they are called plasma. That state is called plasma. It's a very good summary slide, which also tells us what is. This slide also tells us names the processes that that is the process of change from one state to another. For example, when the state of the matter changes from solid to liquid, it is called melting. Liquid to gas, it is called vaporization. Gas to liquid is condensation. Liquid to freezing, liquid to solid is freezing. I've told you something else also, I think. I've told you something as sublimation. Do you remember sublimation? If you remember, can you tell me? Can you share with the entire class what sublimation means? If you remember. If you don't remember, you will try to find out and tell me in the next class. Sublimation. Take a guess. Another set of questions. And we are just revising what we should know by now. What are the different types of matter? You have the first alphabet already. Make a guess, type your answers, or speak your answers. As you have rightly pointed out, the different types of matters are elements, E for elements, C for compounds, and M for mixtures. Elements, compounds, and mixtures. That's why, beta, when I give you a pre-work, please do that. Now let us see what elements, compounds, and mixtures are. And we can understand what elements are if you can answer this question. Elements are something that are formed of only one type of what? as some of you have said, is atom. Atom. Elements are some things. Elements are those matters that are formed of only one type of atom. Let us see some examples. I've given the symbols of some examples on the slide. Can you tell me what H stands for?
Hydrogen.
Correct. What C stands for?
Carbon dioxide.
It's not carbon dioxide, it is just carbon. And what's the last one? O?
Oxygen.
Correct.
Oxygen. Oxygen.
Oxygen. Hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, very, very common elements and very important element for us because they create life. All the living organisms, they are made up of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. That is why they are also called as organic elements. They are the compounds made up of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. They are called organic compounds. This we studied last year. What are compounds then? So what we have studied in the earlier classes is compounds are formed of two or more types of atoms. Remember, elements are formed of only one type of atom. A particular element will be formed of only one type of atom, whereas a particular compound will be formed of at least two or even more types of atoms. Let us look at some examples. I have written the chemical formula using symbols of the atoms, elements as examples. Can you identify what is H2O? Correct. It is water.
Water.
Correct. What is CO2?
Carbon dioxide.
Correct. And what is NaCl?
Nitrogen.
Salt.
What kind of salt is this? Its chemical name is sodium chloride. This is the common salt. This is the table salt that we use in our food. जो खाने में use होता है. Just saying salt will not be enough because there are hundreds, thousands of different salts. We need to know what type of salt this is. Now try the second sentence. First try it in your notebook and then try to answer in the chat box. So here, what we have noticed when we looked at elements and when we looked at compounds, we see that elements are formed of only one type of atoms. One element is formed of only one type of atom, whereas one compound is made up of more than one type of atom. So, in other words, we can say compounds are made up of different elements. Now, what is more important, we need to know, and we studied it newly last year, that compounds are formed when elements combine in a definite proportion. Definite proportion. Laws of combination. Remember, water, wherever we take the water from, and we are talking about the compound water, it will have hydrogen and oxygen elements in the same ratio, in the same proportion. Last year we studied law of chemical combination, law of definite proportion. After we have understood elements and compounds, then comes the point of mixtures. Once again, let us try to remember, let us try to understand using the same concept of atoms. We have seen that elements, each element is made up of only one kind of atom. Each compound is made up of two or more kinds of atoms. So what are mixtures? So as Chand and Karthik said, mixtures are formed by combinations of two or more elements or compounds and compounds. So we may have two or more elements, we may have two or more compounds, or we may have some elements and some compounds. And the major difference between a compound and a mixture is this mixture is in no definite proportion. Another difference that we studied last year, that when elements combine to form compounds, the elements lose their property. The compounds may have completely different property. For example, water. Hydrogen is highly combustible. It burns. Oxygen helps in burning. But water neither burns nor helps in burning. Rather, it douses the fire. It extinguishes the fire. So that is a compound formed of hydrogen and oxygen. We also took this example of Nimbu Pani. When we take a glass of water, add some lemon juice to it, some sugar, some salt to it. So sugar is a compound. Salt is a compound. Lemon juice is another compound. Water is another compound. Do they lose their properties? No. Sugar still tastes sweet. Salt still tastes salty. So that is not an example of compound, but it's an example of mixture. Understand the difference between compounds and mixtures. Some very common examples of mixtures I have listed on the screen here on this slide. Soil, mitti. It has many things in it. There are stones, there is sand, there are leaves, there are plant remains, there are animal remains, so many things. And soil from place A is not same as soil from place B. It's a mixture. Air. There are some elements in the air like oxygen. There are some compounds in the air like carbon dioxide. And air at different places consists of different things depending on how clean that air is, how good or how bad that air is. Similarly, the water that is there in the ocean or the water that is there in our rivers, it's not pure water. It has some minerals in it. The minerals are coming into that water because from rain, when the water is flowing on the ground, it is picking up minerals from the soil. There are plant remains, there are animal remains. So all these, soil, air, water, ocean water, they are examples of mixtures, not elements, not compounds. This slide here, this picture here, helps us understand the differences and the commonalities between elements, compounds, and mixtures with 3 examples. The first row, top row, gives us examples of elements. There are 3 examples. On the left hand side, we have oxygen, and we see in oxygen every oxygen in oxygen, the atoms of the oxygen, they are not individual. They are not existing individually. They exist in pairs. And how the atoms of the elements exist, that tells us how the molecules are. So we can also say that every molecule of oxygen has 2 atoms of oxygen. It's a gas, so the atoms and molecules are far away from each other. If you look at the second example, which is the example of gold, and you know gold is solid, so here the atoms of gold are very, very, very closely, tightly packed together. Similarly, the third example, very important example, is the example of bromine. Bromine is a non-metal. Bromine is a liquid non-metal at room temperature. Here, the particles are not as far as in case of gas, and they are not as close as in case of solids. Oxygen, gold, bromine. Notice the scientific notation also. For oxygen, it's written O2, molecule of oxygen. For gold, it's written Au, one atom of oxygen, because one atom of gold, because the molecule of gold is contains only one atom, Au, aurum. And bromine, Br. Here also, the molecules have only one atom of bromine. In the second row, we have 3 examples of compounds. First one is water. You see, there are 3 atoms in each of the molecule. The red one is the hydrogen, and the one that is shown in gray, they are the oxygen atoms. Exactly the ulta. The one that is there in the red, which is large, that is the oxygen atom, and the small ones in gray, they are the hydrogen atoms. So each molecule of water has 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. It makes a molecule of water, H2O. It's liquid. If you look at the second example, carbon dioxide, 1 carbon atom in black, 2 oxygen atoms in red, they form a molecule of the compound carbon dioxide. Finally, on the right hand side, methane. This also we have studied last year. CH4, 1 atom of carbon and 4 atoms of hydrogen combined to form 1 molecule of methane. So the formula becomes CH4. Finally, in the bottom row, we have examples of mixtures. First one is the example of namak pani ka ghol. So we took NaCl and we mixed it in water. So the yellow green dots that you see, they are molecules of NaCl. And the red gray molecules that you see, they are molecules of water. They are randomly mixed. If you look at the right hand side, it's a mixture of 2 gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen. Oxygen, all red. Carbon dioxide, black and red. Randomly mixed. In the middle, there is an interesting mixture. This is a mixture, this is a solid mixture. This is called an alloy. And this particular alloy is brass. It's a mixture of 2 solids. Do you remember what are these solids? What are the elements that are there in brass? Brass is an alloy made up of 2 metallic elements, copper and zinc. It doesn't matter whether black is zinc or red is zinc, whether black is copper or red is copper. What we can clearly see is that brass consists of 2 types of things. And we should know that brass consists of copper and zinc. It's a mixture of copper and zinc. Then the question you should ask is, how do we mix them if they are solid? Can you mix steel with plastic when they are solid? You can't. So what is done is, these elements, these metals which are solid, they are heated, they are melted. When they are melted, they become liquid. When they become liquid, we can mix them. And when they cool down again, they become solid and we get brass. So we start from solid metallic elements, we melt them to form the liquid state, we mix them and then cool them again to get the solid alloys. ALLOY, alloy. Now, we started with matter, we moved to states of the matter, types of the matter. We defined elements, compounds in terms of atoms. Then what are atoms made up of? All of you should know this answer. Very good, Khadija, very fast. All atoms, not all, except one. All atoms except one are made up of these three things. Right? Yes, you are getting the correct answers. Let us write it on the slide. Atoms are made up of electrons. They are made up of protons.
Protons.
And
Neutrons.
correct, they are formed of neutrons. Remind me, what is the charge on an electron? Is it positive? Is it negative? Negative, correct.
Negative.
Correct.
Negative.
What kind of charge is there on proton?
Positive.
Positive.
Correct. And what kind of charge is there on neutrons?
Negative.
Look at the name, neutron. So it is neutral, no charge. Do you now remember the structure of the atom? Is it random or is it a specific thing? Where can we find the protons and neutrons in an atom? Where can we find the electrons in an atom? It will be good if one of you can come out of mute and answer this. In an atom, where will we find protons and neutrons? Where will we find electrons? Correct. Protons and neutrons are closely packed at the center of the atom in a place called nucleus. Electrons are loosely revolving around that nucleus, just like our solar system, in which sun is at the center, the planets and other planetary objects are revolving around the sun. So we can think of atom being a solar system in which nucleus is the sun and the electrons are the planets. Very, very simple. Something more to revise. What is atomic number of protons? Atomic number of an element or atomic number of an atom is the number of protons in an atom. Atoms have some protons, some electrons, some neutrons. Definitely the number of protons and number of electrons are equal. That is why there is no charge on the atoms. The positive and negative charges, they balance each other out. And the number of protons is called the atomic number. Now try to remember and tell me, what is the atomic number of carbon? Very good, Prachi. Very fast, correct answer. It is 6. No, Khadija, it's not 12. It is 6. There is something else related to this atomic number, and it is atomic mass number. What is atomic mass number? This is something more than just the number of protons. Try remember and answer. Yes, you are right. Atomic mass number is the number of protons and the number of neutrons in an atom. So atomic mass number of an atom or atomic mass number of an element is the number of protons and neutrons in the atoms of that element. If this is the case, and we already know that the atomic number of carbon is 6, that means every atom of carbon contains 6 protons. Try remember how many neutrons are there in the carbon atom and add it to the number of protons, that is 6, and tell me what is the atomic mass number of carbon. Now you are giving the correct answers. It is 12. It is 12. But this is not always the case. Sometimes there are 8 neutrons and then this carbon is called carbon 14. Do you remember a word starting with I, then the next alphabet is S, then O? Correct, Prachi? Isotopes. Isotopes. So when the number of protons are same, but the number of neutrons are different, such atoms are atoms of the same element. They are atoms of the same element, but their masses are different because of the difference in the number of neutrons, and those are called isotopes of the elements. Chand remembers, yeah, in dating method, carbon 14 is used, correct? Radioactive dating. Good, you remember. Then how does a atom look? This is just a representation. This is not how the actual atom looks, but this is a representation where at the center, all the neutrons and protons are tightly packed. There is no envelope. जो orange line बना है ना, there is no such boundary around them. They are tightly packed together. There is no room there. There is no wall or door. That place where all the protons and neutrons are concentrated, tightly packed together, that is called the nucleus. And around the nucleus, electrons revolve. This is the planetary model of the atom. What are molecules? While answering some questions, you have already used the word molecules. While explaining to you, I have used the word molecules. What is it? Because we have already used these words, use this word. Let me just give you the answer directly. Molecules are made up of one or more than one type of atoms. Molecules are made up of one or more than one type of atoms. So atoms are the smallest part of matter. When atoms combine, they form molecules. When similar atoms combine, same atoms combine, they form molecules of elements. When different types of atoms combine, they form molecules of compounds. For example, molecule of oxygen has 2 atoms of oxygen only. Same type of atom combined to form the molecule of element, oxygen. But in case of water, atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So 2 different types of atoms combine to form a molecule, and that molecule is a molecule of a compound. Understand? There can be a molecule of element, there can also be molecule of compounds. This is again another pictorial representation of how an atom or a molecule may look. On the left hand side, we have a representation of oxygen, where we are showing that there are, in 1 atom of oxygen, there are 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and there are 8 electrons revolving around it. So we can say that the atomic number here is 8. The atomic mass number is 8 plus 8, 16. On the right hand side, we can see there is a large oxygen atom combining with 2 small hydrogen atoms to form a molecule of water. Atom of oxygen on the left hand side, molecule of water on the right hand side. Do you remember your new friends from last year? These are your new friends. I not only gave you a list, I gave you a table. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium. We looked at all these elements. These are elements. We looked at all these elements and we made a table of their atomic number, atomic mass, electronic configuration. All this we did. And there is a reason why I have written in only these 4 rows. Why I have not combined them and written in 1 row. Last year I would have done that. This year I will not do it. We will understand that in this chapter. Why I have differentiated them in 4 different rows. Potassium should have 1 T and 2 SS. Potassium. Let's see who remembers. Thumbs up or thumbs down if you remember. Also, you should know what you need to do. Now we are going to make many more new friends. In all, right now, human beings have found out not 1, not 2, not 3, not 20, not 22, but 118 different elements in nature. Yes, 118. And chemistry, the branch of science, chemistry is in a way study of these elements. If you understand these elements, then we will understand the compounds that they make. Then we will understand the mixtures that they make. Everything we can understand. So that then brings us to what we are going to study. And Chand has already started studying. What we are going to study this year in this chapter is about these 118 elements. And we will study how to study these elements. We are so bothered. अगर एक दिन में 2 क्लास होता है तो हम परेशान हो जाते हैं. 118 elements. दिक्कत तो होगी. So instead of studying them one by one, instead of studying them separately, what people do, what scientists do is, and what we will do is, we will classify them. Classify them means we will make groups based on some logic. Then instead of studying about 118 elements separately, suppose that there are 10 groups of 10 elements. That is 100. And there is another group of 18 elements. Suppose this is the case. If this is the case, so instead of studying about 118 different elements, we can just study about this 10 groups and one more group. Only 11 groups. And our life will be easier. It will be easy to study this. So in this chapter, we will understand how we can classify these 118 elements so that we are able to understand and we are able to study them. In addition to that, so first we will classify the elements, then we will also study their properties. We will first classify them and we will study their properties. And when we will study their properties, we will not look at them individually. We will look at them in groups. What groups? The groups that we are going to classify them into. These are the two main things that we are going to do in this chapter. Classify the 118 elements using some logic, and then study the properties of those elements group by group. The most important thing that you will come across in this chapter is called the periodic table of elements. This is what Chand was saying in the chat, that these 118 elements are there in the periodic table. Yes, they are. When I send you this presentation, all of you can go to this link and click on that. It will take you to a page which will look like, I'll have to share it with you, I think. Are you able to see? I guess not. You should be able to see now. This is an interactive periodic table. Right now, you may not understand, we may not understand what is what, but at least we should be able to see that our friends are here. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium. And those who are observing this carefully, you would have noticed कि इस टेबल में जिस तरीके से लिखा हुआ है नाम, हाइड्रोजन एंड हीलियम ऑन द सेम रो, lithium to neon on the second row, sodium to argon on the third row, potassium and calcium in the fourth row. That is exactly what sir wrote for you on the slide. So by the end of this chapter, we will not only understand how this is created, we will also understand what do we learn from this classification. These are not random placements of elements. You see, it starts with hydrogen, H here, and it goes all the way to this, Oganesson 118. So play around whenever you have some time, play around, see what happens when you click on certain things, how things change. It will be interesting. If you did see the table carefully, can you try answer this question? Do you see any order? If yes, what is the order? If you don't remember what the table looked like, I would show it again. But first understand the question. Question is, are the elements arranged in a random order or there is a particular order? Chand is saying, yes, there is an order. It is going in number wise. Okay. But Prachi is saying it is going in a particular order. Can you tell me what order it is? Chand is saying number wise. What number, beta? You're almost there. What number? What is that number? Look at the periodic table again. What number are we referring to? What is 1 for H? What is 2 for helium? What is 3 for lithium? What numbers are these? What are these numbers? Brilliant, Karthik, Prachi. Brilliant. You have already noticed that here the elements This is how your chapter starts. Now you should be able to answer these questions, 4 questions under can you recall. You will do it as part of your homework. But right now, what I want you to do is you read this paragraph, right? From Dobrynin's triads till the table, end of the table. Take 5 minutes, read this, and then we will try to answer the questions. The time starts now. Now, if you read that part of the chapter clearly, then you would have understood that Dobrynin was trying to classify the elements that were available at his time. There were only 30 odd elements known when he was alive, when he was working, and he was trying to classify them. And he was trying to classify for what? Properties of elements, he said, are related to their what?
Atomic number.
No, atomic masses. Dobrynin, if you read the chapter correctly, he said atomic masses. And there is a very simple reason why he could not have spoken about number. At that time, there was no way anyone knew what an atom is or what atoms are made up of. So there was no way he could have known about electrons, protons, or neutrons. But he was able to, by clever scientific experiments and using mathematics, they were able to find the atomic masses. And he realized that properties of elements are related to their atomic mass. Not just any group. He realized that this group of elements is, every group has 3 elements, groups of 3 elements, having similar chemical properties. And because he was classifying 3 elements in each group, they were called as triads. Triangle, triad. And what he was doing was, in each group of 3 elements, and the examples were given in the table, he was arranging the elements in increasing order of atomic mass. See, the answer to the first question was right here, atomic mass. Now comes the most important part, the mathematical part is, how did he classify? When he took these 3 elements in a group, what was the relationship of their masses? He realized that if the 3 elements had atomic masses of LMR, I have named them LMR to represent left, middle, and right, where the element on the right is the heaviest. No, the element in the middle is the heaviest. The atomic mass of that element is the average of the other 2. So L plus R by 2. The mean, the average. Are you with me till now? L plus R by 2. Prachi, you need to be careful. If you do, you have to use the brackets. Otherwise, it will become L plus R by 2. That's wrong. And he noticed specifically, in case of lithium, sodium, and potassium, the atomic masses are 6.9 for lithium, 23 for sodium, the heaviest one, no, the middle one, and the heaviest one is potassium, 39.1. He realized that the atomic mass of the middle element, which is sodium, it was equal to the average of the atomic mass of other two. If we take the lightest element, if we take the heaviest element, and we take the average of their atomic masses, that was the atomic mass of the middle element. Same happened when he looked at the case of calcium, strontium, and barium. Right now, we are not bothered how he found out 40.1, 87.6, and 137.3. That was just hard work, science, and maths. But the observation here is the atomic mass of strontium is actually average of the atomic masses of calcium and barium. Not exactly, but almost. Same is the case with chlorine, bromine, iodine. Chlorine, lightest of the three, 35.5. Iodine, heaviest of the three, 126.9. Bromine, the middle element, its actual atomic mass is 79.9. And when he took the average of the atomic mass of chlorine and atomic mass of iodine, it was almost same as the actual atomic mass of bromine. So what Dobereiner observed was, if he classified elements in groups of 3 such that the atomic mass of the middle element is the average of the atomic mass of the lightest and the heaviest element, then their properties are similar. So what he was trying to say is, instead of studying lithium, sodium, and potassium separately, we can study them as a group. Instead of studying calcium, strontium, and barium separately, we can study them as a group. Instead of studying chlorine, bromine, and iodine separately, we can study them as a group. Now let us try understand this concept with more examples. And this is an example. This is a question from your textbook. Here in this question, some triads are given, or we can also say some triplets are given, triplets of elements. Their atomic masses are given in the bracket. We have to identify Dobereiner's triads from the following groups of elements. So we have to say whether group 1 satisfies what Dobereiner was saying, whether group 2 does that, whether group 3 does that. I will show one how to do, and you will try to do the other 3. If we look at the first group of elements, it's numbered 1. It has 3 elements: magnesium, calcium, and strontium. Magnesium, the atomic mass is 24.3. So this is the lightest one. Strontium, 87.6. This is the heaviest one. Calcium, 40.1. This is in the middle. Now to find out if they make a Dobereiner's triad or not, we have to find out whether 40.1 is an average of 24.3 and 87.7. That's all. How? Just find the average and compare. How? First step, add 24.3 plus 87.1, 87.7, and we will divide it by 2 because we are adding 2 numbers. So when we divide the sum by the 2, we will get the average. If you do simple arithmetic, 3 plus 7 is 10, 1, 4, and 7 is 12, 1 plus 2, 3, 3 plus 8, 11, by 2, we are getting 2 5s are 10, 2 6s are 12, 56. Now we see that the average of 24.3 and 87.7, which is 56, it is not equal to 40.1. Because it is not equal to the atomic mass, the average of the lightest and the heaviest is not equal to the atomic mass of the middle element, we will say that group 1, the elements given in group 1, they do not form a Doberanier's triad. Now you try and tell me whether group 2 is a Doberanier's triad or not. Calculate in your notebook before answering. So in the second part of the question, 3 more elements are given. We have sulfur, atomic mass 32.1. We have selenium, atomic mass 79. We have tellurium, atomic mass 127.6. Once again, to decide whether these 3 make a Doberanier's triad or not, we need to find out the average of the lightest and the heaviest and then compare it with the middle one. So to find that, we will add 32.1 with 127.6 and divide by 2. When we do the addition, we get 159.7 by 2. When we divide, we get 2 7s are 14, 1 9, 2 9s are 18, 1 7, 2 8s are 16, 2 0, 2 5s. 2 1s are 2. 2 5s are 10. 2 5s are 10. 79.85. This is what Karthik also got. Now this 79.85, although it is not exactly 79, it is almost 79. And so we will say, yes, sulfur, selenium, and tellurium make a Doberanier's triad. Try the third one. So in the third part of the question, the elements now are beryllium, atomic mass 9, magnesium, atomic mass 24.3, same as in part 1, and calcium, atomic mass 40.1, same as part 1. Once again, what we will do is take the average of the lightest and the heaviest. So 9 plus 40.1 divided by 2, which is equal to 49.1 by 2, which is equal to 2 2s are 4, 2 4s are 8, 1 0, 2 5s are 10, 1 0, 2 5s are 10. You see, 24.55, although it is not equal to 24.3, it is very, very near. It is almost equal to 24.3. So, Karthik, Prachi, Kharija, your answer is correct. Third one also is a Doberanier's triad. That what Doberanierre said was actually not correct. There was a problem. And the problem was, although all the elements were not known there, how many ever elements were known at that time, he could not classify all the elements using this rule. And the very fact that he could not classify all the elements like this, it tells that his method, his classification, the logic that he had used is wrong. Agar wo sahi hota, then he would have been able to classify all the elements. He could not. So there was a problem. So what to do next? Who will tell me? अब आगे क्या हुआ होगा कहानी में? Another hero would come. Another hero would try to rescue the heroine, and we will see whether that hero was successful or not. That we will do in the next class. This is what this chapter is about. How people have tried to classify the elements. Sometimes they have succeeded, sometimes they have failed, and how ultimately we found out what that basic logic is, using which we can classify all the elements that we know or that we may know in the future. And you have already observed that in the periodic table, where you said that the elements are arranged in the order of atomic number. Here, this person is only using atomic mass. So there is some way to go. Before we finish today, let us try look at another question, which is there from your exercise. It's a matching question from the table. There is a table with 3 columns. And remember, matching we will not do by drawing lines. We will do the matching by writing them in the correct order. I know we haven't studied everything. I know. But even then, whatever we have studied till now, can you tell me at least one correct matching across the 3 columns? So based on what we studied just now, we should be able to match the first one, triad, from column 1 to C. Average of the first and the third atomic mass is written in a very bad way, but yeah. And then we know who said this, who found this out. No-brainer. We will study about other things later, but it will be interesting for you to find out something about electrons, nucleus, protons, even before you come to the next class. So your homework will be this. You will answer the can you recall questions on page number 16 of the textbook. Very easy. You will complete the can you tell. If you haven't completed it in the class now, we just calculated the averages and compared. And use the internet to find out who, name of the people, who discovered electrons, who discovered protons, and who discovered neutrons. Last year, I have given you these names, but I did not write it down anywhere. I don't remember writing it down for you. This year, you use the internet to find the correct answer. That brings us to the end of this session.